Hello, welcome to the THC Show. I'm your host, Neil Magnuson. This is the show where we talk about truth, hope, and change. And the truth is, we have some hope that the changes coming for us will be positive in the end. On the show today, we'll have Brix Carlisle join us for the 420 session. We're going to talk about the Healing Wave CSP raid that has changed the show and changed what we are able to tell you. And we'll talk a little bit about the other CSP programs going on in Halifax, London, Ontario, and Winnipeg, Manitoba. So if you watched last week's show, you were aware that about an hour before the show last week, we were raided by the Vancouver Police in the Healing Wave CSP RV. We still don't know why. They're being very tight-lipped about it. But at about 3 o'clock last Tuesday, a handful, maybe 8 or 10 VPD swooped in on the RV. George and Andrew were in there. They were taken out and arrested and charged with trafficking against the Cannabis Act. I came along shortly thereafter, having been told that was going on, and I was also charged and arrested. Not in that order. It is a tragic thing that's happened here. It is an example of just how corrupt things are. We've been waiting for Health Canada to give us the license that we applied for over a year and a half ago. That alone is terribly disgusting. That is gross negligence on the part of Health Canada. That year and a half, had we not been continuing our program as they would have preferred, I can't even begin to calculate how much harm that would have done or undone all the good that we've done in that year and a half. We've had an incredible year and a half. We've helped out hundreds of people that are desperate and hurting, struggling big time in their lives. The very people that you would think Health Canada would be concerned about, but they're not. Health Canada's concern is for the financial health of the monopoly that the Trudeau-Cardell has set up. And that's it. Their notice to us about a little over 3 weeks ago was that they're going to deny our application. They gave us 30 days to respond, and we are responding, although this raid sets us back in our abilities to respond to that properly. And so hopefully we will get an extension on that deadline, which is coming up on Friday. We're not sure yet. We've certainly applied for that, and we certainly do deserve that. In fact, there should not be a deadline at which time Health Canada is going to say no to us. This is absolutely outrageous. They've given two reasons why they want to say no to us. The first one, just as ludicrous as the second one perhaps, or maybe not quite, but the first one is that all of our supply of cannabis has to be legal. I think that means it has to come through them, apparently, through their licensed producers, who they won't let donate to us. All of our edibles are supplied by people who are providing cannabis for those edibles from the 4 plants that they're allowed to grow or from their medical grows that they're allowed to have. So that's all legal. We've gone through hundreds of pounds of cannabis over the last few years, 5 years that we've been doing this. Hundreds. Never had a complaint. Nobody's ever been harmed in any way. We applied to have those suppliers of ours licensed. Should be low barrier access into the production world, as well as low barrier access to the cannabinoids. But Health Canada says our supply isn't legal, and so therefore they're just going to turn us down. They're not going to discuss with us how we could perhaps have all legal supply. They're just going to turn us down. The second reason, I think, is even more ludicrous, although they're both really ludicrous. It's taken them a year and a half to come up with reasons to say no to us. And this is what they came up with. The second reason is that we're providing cannabis to people who don't have a doctor supporting their choice. Can you imagine how stupid that is? In a world where cannabis is supposed to be legal, but because they're high-dose edibles, we need to have those people approved by a doctor before they can get them. These are full-grown adults that we're dealing with here. Full-grown, consenting adults who have chosen to use fentanyl and heroin and crystal meth and crack cocaine and all those other drugs that are out there on the street that are killing people and maiming people. They've chosen to use those. Now they would like to stop. They would like to have cannabis high-dose edibles as an option to help them stop. But Health Canada says we can only do that for them if they have a doctor on board. I'm sure many of you out there in audio or video land have already tried to get a doctor to support your choice to use cannabis. And you're aware of just how hard that is for ordinary people. People that are precariously housed, as I like to call them, suffering multiple barriers of health issues and mental issues and money issues. These people don't have a hope in hell of getting a doctor to support them. Nothing. Not a chance. They don't have the wherewithal in many cases. The doctors aren't even there in many cases. We have a doctor shortage going on right now here in British Columbia. So not only are there only 5% of doctors who will write a script for somebody, but the percentage of doctors that 5% represents has gone way down. There's a real shortage of doctors. And there is a serious shortage of doctors that will write a script for somebody. And there's an even more serious shortage of doctors who will have anything to do with the poor and destitute people that live on the downtown east side of Vancouver. They want nothing to do with this. They want to have a nice little practice somewhere with a nice office and a nice house and live a nice comfy life and not have to deal with all of the health issues that are going on down here on the downtown east side of Vancouver. But health issues is what we have. We have many, many health issues. And Health Canada, the agency that's charged with looking after the health of Canadians, has decided to abandon the people that need it the very most. This is a serious attack on the sick and the disabled Canadians. This is a criminal attack on the seriously disabled Canadians. Our government is corrupt, and our government doesn't care. Two of the very worst things that you could have in a government. The corruption runs deep and all the way to the top. It is just riddled with corruption, our system. We all know it, but none of us think we can do anything about it. So we just try to stay invisible. Live our lives without getting caught up in the system to find out just how corrupt things are. But if you've tried to find justice in our world, in our country, you'll find that they delay. They lie and they lie. They lose things. They just, whatever it takes to not deliver justice. You're given a phone number to talk to somebody. You call that number. They say, oh, it's not me, you have to talk to somebody else. You talk to somebody else, and they say, oh, it's not me, you have to talk to somebody else. And they give you the big run around until you're right back at the first person you talk to. Our government does not want to solve the issues that we have as Canadians, and they especially don't give a damn about Canadians who have issues with substance abuse or serious health. They would rather they just went away. I'm sure they're just hoping that we go away. We've been a bit of a thorn in their side for the last 5 years because we don't want the Trudeau cartel to get away with their monopoly that doesn't include sick people and poor people, let alone the people that are suffering from addiction that would otherwise use cannabis to escape that addiction. Cannabis high-dose edibles can get people through withdrawal. That's that huge barrier that is the reason that we call it addiction. That's the one part of their drug use that makes it so addictive, is that they can't quit. You can't quit without going through serious health issues, pain, suffering, agony, hell. It's what happens when you repeatedly use opioids and other nasty street drugs, even alcohol, for long periods of time uninterrupted. It's really hard to quit. So we got all these poor struggling people. Our brothers and our sisters, our aunts and our uncles, our parents, our kids are all out there many of them struggling with addiction. It's horrible. You can see it here on the downtown east side. We have thousands of visibly addicted people that are so struggling in their lives. It is so hard to see, so hard to watch. But there's many thousands more that are invisible. They're functioning addicts in many cases, still living their lives, working where they work, and nobody knows. They can't tell anybody because they're ashamed of it. Not tough enough to quit. So we came up with a solution. Make it as easy as possible for people to get high-dose edibles. Simple. Shouldn't have been hard at all. When we started, cannabis was illegal. So that made it a little more difficult. But still, cannabis was everywhere, easy to get. Lots of people in possession of cannabis that they would donate to us to help with this program. So we started the program. Then along comes legalization. Well, that was supposed to be a good thing. Turns out Freddie Pritchard was right. Trudeau's a lying piece of shit. Sorry, Auntie Barbie, but that's exactly what's going on. And he deserves worse language than that. He's disgusting. He's a wannabe dictator. He thinks he owns us, and he's better than us. And he provided legalization because that's what he got voted in to do. But it wasn't the legalization that we had been fighting for all these years. The legalization that we've been fighting for all these years wouldn't involve any penalties to do with pot. The legalization that we've been fighting for all these years would have made it easy for people to get into the industry. And in fact, all those people that were already part of that vibrant and well-entrenched cannabis industry before legalization, they should have all been brought into the legalization world, shouldn't they? Isn't that what legalization should do? It certainly shouldn't still leave them illegal. Instead, all these people that were growing cannabis for the green or gray or underground marketplace got told they had to stop. Got told they had to apply. The application takes years, and almost nobody makes it in. So what are they going to do? They're not going to stop growing cannabis. How could they do that? Why would they do that? They're not going to do it because now all of a sudden they're illegal. They were illegal before legalization. So that's not going to scare anybody off. We live in a tough economy. It takes a lot to support a household, a family, a life. So people that had been supporting their lives through the production of cannabis and the sale of cannabis are not all of a sudden going to quit doing that because now all of a sudden they're going to be illegal because they're not all of a sudden illegal. They were illegal to begin with. Nothing has changed for them. Trudeau said he was going to wipe out the underground market by having affordable prices and really good cannabis. What a liar. What a liar. 419. Roll them if you got them. I got one more minute. What a liar. Affordable access to good cannabis. That's not what he's offering. He's offering high barrier cannabis at extremely high prices, higher than prohibition prices, thousands and thousands of dollars per pound to buy it by the gram or by the ounce, and no access to the people that really need it. Oh, you can go through a doctor and get it online through the licensed producers. Yeah, maybe. Maybe you can do that. If you have a home, if you have a bank account and enough money to afford it, and you don't mind using cannabis that's grown by people who only care about money instead of people's health. Because prior to legalization, cannabis was grown by small operations, by people who cared about what they were doing, put their love and their soul into the plants that they grew. Anyway, we'll continue to talk more about this momentarily, but right now it's 4:20, and Lord knows we need to have some cannabinoid therapeutics to help us with the stress of the worlds we're living in. And today on the show, we don't have 8 out of 10 Glenn, believe it or not. One of the very few times that Glenn is away, but
he is in the chat.
He's in the chat. He's watching. So a good friend of the show, Brix Carlisle, is here to help us enjoy 420.
Hey, how's it going?
How you doing, Brian?
Good.
Good. It's going all right. It's been a very stressful week. I'm not smoking right now. I had a late night last night. I've had a very stressful week. And I woke up feeling a little bit fragile this morning. I haven't had a headache for quite a while, but just a little bit going on. So I don't want to aggravate that. And so I'm not going to do that. But I'm happy to experience you involved in the 420 session here. Okay. I can live vicariously through your puffs, you know. I can see the slight change in attitude as the cannabis goes in and comes back out.
And it's just like triple infused, right? We're dealing with the butter, shatter. I believe they're butter, shatter, and keef on the outside.
Right.
So,
not to mention the actual cannabis.
A nice $4 joint that I can get right out here at CSP that I'd otherwise spend, I don't know, around $18 for 2 or whatever they charge plus tax, if you were to, and it's not triple infused. They do 1 infused only. I mean, this alone, you can't get a triple infused joint at any dispensary. Why is that?
Because they're catering to the wants and desires of the actual cannabis consumer. These decisions on how we are to consume and what we're able to buy are being made by people that in most cases don't even use cannabis, don't really have much of a clue about cannabis. They just like being the boss. It's really frustrating. It is. Yeah.
So what are we talking about today?
Oh, I don't know. We're going to talk about the raid.
Okay.
And for a year and a half or more, the show was like a repeat every time. We did have some new information every time. But basically it was, here we are, waiting for Health Canada. It's been a long time. It's just getting longer. And, go visit the RV and go see what's going on out there. And all the rest of it was just a repeat every time. It was very frustrating. We never thought it was going to take this long to get decisions from Health Canada. And we certainly never thought the decisions from Health Canada were going to be against what we're doing. But, so now we have a different show. So we had the raid last Tuesday, and those cops wouldn't talk to me very much. They didn't want to hear what I had to say. I managed to get these out of the RV. I probably should have left them in the RV so that they would have to look at them and put them into evidence if we ever do get into court, but I doubt we will. So this is a letter that we had written by Rebecca Bly. She's the counselor that passed the motion to support low barrier access. She emailed me last night, by the way, and is very upset about what happened. Doesn't understand it, just like us. And she's going to see if city staff can't get to the bottom of what's going on there. It was a very good letter from Rebecca. She certainly appreciates what we've been doing here and how we're doing it. And we met with her shortly after the motion was passed. Well, that's not true, because it took us almost a year to find a storefront. We met with her, had a really good meeting, and left there thinking that we would be supported by City Hall. But when push came to shove and we actually got the storefront and moved into it, City Hall licensing came along and said, no, you're going to have to get Health Canada to give you a license first. And Rebecca said, yes, we're going to follow Canada's lead on the Cannabis Act. This is a long letter from Dr. M.J. Malloy. Dr. Malloy is a university professor, a cannabis expert, and he did studies on our program when we were at Vandu. He had his researchers there. They determined that what we were doing was highly effective, that there was less people using the hard drugs if they were having access to our program. And he wrote numerous peer-reviewed papers that he's released on the efficacy and the safety of cannabinoid replacement therapy. This letter is from Professor Zachary Walsh. Professor Walsh is the acknowledged foremost expert on cannabinoid replacement therapy. Mr. Walsh was very concerned about our program and how it was going to be accepted and handled. His last paragraph I'm going to read you here. In light of the terrible toll of the overdose crisis and the tragic exacerbation associated with the COVID pandemic, Mr. Magnuson's work is more important than ever before. We were certainly here for a few years before COVID, and when COVID hit, we were deemed to be an essential service. I guess Health Canada isn't aware of that, or didn't consider that, or doesn't care about that. His work fills a vital need for an underserved and jeopardized community in the midst of one of the greatest health crises in Canadian history. In this dire moment, Mr. Magnuson's work should be lauded and supported. He should not be presented with obstacles. Please do not hesitate to contact me for further discussion. He also says in there that our program should be supported and expanded. So yeah, we got lots of support, lots of amazing track record for helping people for all this time. For Health Canada to say that our supply is not legal and therefore not okay, I mean, we've never had a single complaint. I'm flabbergasted by it all. We think that what probably happened on Tuesday last week was that someone on their way to the courthouse, which is just around the corner here, decided to complain about our RV being parked the way that it was, and so he stood and waited until he could get to the window because there was some other people there, and then he complained and was told that, well, sorry, but this RV's been here for 1.5 years in the same spot without any incident and without any other previous complaint. So my staff reported that to me, that a fellow that looked like a lawyer had come and made that complaint. So then that afternoon at 3 o'clock when the cops showed up, I suspect that that's probably a prosecutor, because they're scumbags, eh? Prosecutors are just terrible people. They have to be just terrible people. Can you imagine being in charge of trying to pretend that it's a crime for somebody to have cannabis on them and go ahead and persecute and injure that person? Prosecutors are real scumbags. So it's not surprising that that was probably a prosecutor that decided to blow the whistle on us, call the dogs in, and try to have us shut down. What a nasty piece of work. What a horrible thing to do. The panic in this neighborhood is so palatable. So many people coming to me and telling me that they're horrified by this, that they don't know what they're going to do if we're not here. The one guy said he was going to have to go back to using heroin to help him sleep at night. The girl the next day said she'd be back using cocaine because what other choice would she have? This is absolutely disgusting. So we think that's what's happened. I've tried to find out. We've got numerous people trying to find out. We've had a lot of media coverage from mainstream media. Global covered it on CKNW yesterday in the morning. It was all about us yesterday morning. City TV had us as the lead story on their 6 o'clock news on Thursday. There's been a lot more as well. So since then, I've talked to 3 VPD people. One of them said he wasn't here for us. He was just parked in the lane and sitting there looking like he was staring at us. But he didn't care and he didn't know. And I said, well, I'd like you to know. So he let me explain to him who we were and what we've been doing and how we've tried to do it from the beginning the right way. His opinion was that we just have to do it the right way. And I said, well, we started doing this before legalization, so there was no right way when we started this. As soon as we found out that we needed to have permission from Health Canada, we put together the best application they've probably ever gotten. And we've never tried to hide anything. We have everything out in the open. We're very clear about what we're doing here. And we're motivated because we know that we're saving people from addiction and rescuing them from what goes on in their lives with respect to their health issues and the use of these hard drugs. But his opinion was, no, you can't be doing it the wrong way. You can only do it the right way. And I said, sir, at this point, we have to do it the way that we're doing it. We cannot just withhold services to these people. What else it says in those letters from Dr. Malloy and Mr. Walsh is that if we were to stop doing what we're doing and suspend those services, that the people that we're helping will be put at risk of death. So how the hell could we possibly stop? Anyway, that was his opinion. It was a relatively good conversation. The second one was even better. A VPD officer pulled up to the tent that we have. We have a gap so the air can go through so that the wind doesn't wreak havoc on our tent. And he parked right so he could look into our area there from that gap. And I went and started talking to him. And he was like, what's up? What's this? I said, well, you don't know. And he said he didn't know. So I told him that we were in the RV for 1.5 years, and now we got raided, and they stole our RV, and we can't stop helping people, and so this is what we're doing. And his concern was about the tent being too far out into the roadway. I purposely put it too far out into the roadway because I wanted the cars to have to slow down. He said, you're literally risking your lives here for your cause. Perhaps he was right. In any case, yesterday, we had 2 beat cops from the downtown east side come to our tent. We never see them on this block. They said they were part of the anti-vending unit. I said, oh, you're the guys that raided us over 1.5 years ago with Officer Ballantyne. They said, yeah, Officer Ballantyne isn't here anymore. And they said, I said, so are you here to do what I just told my son should probably happen today? That the VPD is going to come and apologize to us and ask how they can make it right? And he said, well, no, we're not here to apologize to you, but we are here with a friendly suggestion from the top. His friendly suggestion was that we should move our tent off the road a little bit. That with it where it is, there's a good chance they're going to come back and steal more stuff off of us. So I agreed. I said, okay. I said, I can't put the tent on the sidewalk, because there's e-bikes and people with buggies and strollers and what have you up and down that sidewalk all the time. I can't impede those people's progress. But we did move it to the tree line on the sidewalk, so we're not in anybody's way. We are now another 3 feet off the road, so hopefully that satisfies them. And I guess what they were trying to say is that, we won't bother you if you're doing it like that. They also said that they were very aware of us for all the time that we've been here as the anti-vending unit, and that they've never had any reason to feel that they needed to come and talk to us or interfere with us in any way, and they still feel that way. So that was very good. There was another cop in between these two that I mentioned. He came and pulled up to the side, on the side of where we were, got out and videotaped a little bit of walking around our tent there. I caught him just as he was getting into his truck. So, excuse me, sir, can I ask you what you're doing here? This is obviously about us. He said, yep, they're going to come and raid you again. I said, oh yeah, well, why would they do that? And why did they do it in the first place? He says, well, you're not allowed to sell cannabis if you don't have a license. So I said, well, sir, we started this before licenses were available. We've been doing it for 5 years. We've had great success. We're rescuing people. We've got hundreds of members. He agreed with me. We had a fairly long talk. He agreed with everything that I said. He said he's been down on the downtown east side for 3 years, and he understood the situation, but it wasn't his call, and it was the brass up top that were, rumbling about what to do about us. But he said when we finished our conversation that he was going to go and write a long email to his superiors. He couldn't make any promises, but he was going to do what he could. So, there you go. 3 good conversations with the VPD since they raided us. I still want him to come back and apologize and give me my RV back or something else. I don't know. I've asked for Rebecca Bly to consider finding us a city-owned building that's somewhere close to here that we can operate out of. So, we'll see if she's willing to do that. I've actually suggested that to Rebecca numerous times over the last couple of years. She's never been willing to do that, not wanting to go against the federal government, deciding to wait for them. I think that now that we've waited for them and they're coming back they say with the no answer that it's time for the City of Vancouver to take matters into their own hands and to find us a space, because that's what they should do. They passed a motion to unanimously support what we're doing here, and they have not given us any of that support. We did get the letter from Rebecca, that's true. She has written letters on our behalf, that's true. But as far as actual support from the city by way of a license and the ability to occupy a storefront, that we have not got. So, fingers crossed that at some point the city is going to be upset enough with Ottawa for not respecting the motion that they passed and not helping us with this program that requires their permission. And maybe the city will decide to say enough is enough. We're going to help these people now, and we'll find them a place. I don't know. We'll wait and see. But things are definitely in flux here, and there's a lot of things that are going to change in the not too distant future for sure. Because what we're doing by providing access under a tent on the side of the road does not feel very sustainable to me. And I feel like we're at risk every time that we're out there. In fact, I don't even like the fact that I'm in here right now and not out there, because at any moment, we could have more developments happen outside. But we got a show to do, and so here I am. But it won't be long, and we'll be outside visiting with the people out there and seeing what's going on here. But we live in very disgusting times for sure. The governments of this world are very corrupt, and we're managing to expose that for sure.
I think we have to look at life in metaphors.
Yeah.
I think metaphors is the way that our ancestors used to teach us, and so we could understand big issues like this. Because this is a huge issue, and the average person, they can't even grasp a way to get their mind around it. So metaphors are the best. And so the metaphor that I've been working on in myself in the last few months, and I guess I discuss myself as a AAA because I'm not. I'm a walking metaphor for medical cannabis in many ways.
Right.
And how do I? And I think back to the 80s and the 70s and the 90s and all the people that we buried, who were the metaphor for us now. And I always think of my hero, one of my personal heroes. At the time, I had a lot of people I knew were diagnosed with cancer, and when 17-year-old Terrence Fox came forward and was willing to risk his life in his Marathon for Hope, he wanted to raise $1 million, and he was a dying chemo patient just like I am. So I think I can speak a lot. If he was here today, what would Terry Fox say about this current metaphorical cancer pandemic we're dealing with, opioid overdose? Would he see the cancer as a battle, or would he see it as something to just climb back on the fence? I think as the same as him, a chemo patient, any day I could die from the chemo drugs, as took him, right? Because that's what kills most of us chemo patients is the drugs. And the only way any drug issue, which it's fentanyl or Biktarvy, whatever it is, see, these plants are vital connection to all of us. So what would Terry be doing right now? Would Terry be taking only chemo, or would Terry be doing chemo and standing out there on his one and a half legs with us? Oh, you know what? No.
With RSO.
Because Terry wasn't kicked out of his RV. They actually, at one point, the RCMP decided they were going to mess with him during his marathon, and they sent him some back roads that were really difficult for him. Because they were like, oh, no, you can't protest your marathon out on this road. No, but we'll let you go on this road, and risked his real life. And they were okay to do that for Terry Fox, who we gave the Order Canada to, don't forget. And, 17-year-old Terry Fox right? Would they be out here taking Terry Fox's RV? Would the VPD bully us if we were under the age of 18 dying of a cancer? Because that's what you're doing. You're bullying cancer patients of a cancer that you created, that you finance, that you benefit from. So why aren't we punishing your family financially? And I'm talking each officer. I'm currently suing 10. Do I need to name all 10 of you? Because there's more that I think should add to my list, definitely his list, of torts financially collapsing you, your family, your family's family financially. And of course, I'm going to help the bailiffs to execute every judgment that I win. So you're going to have to kill us, just like you did with Terry. Right? Because that's your plan, right? Big money, big pharma. Kill the chemo, kill the cancer, turn your back, turn your head. It ain't there. Hide your eyes.
Well, it's from Big Pharma.
Karma's coming, guys.
It's from Big Pharma.
Big Pharma's
who caused this
in your
addiction
pocketbooks,
epidemic.
Your and you're all joining in by the pocketbook to Big Pharma. So your karma is their karma. Pharma bro, you're all pharma bros.
Yeah.
Enjoy your future karma. Do you know what karma even is? Yeah, you're going to have your hearse with all of your stuff attached to the back. And where are you headed with that hearse, guys? Guess what? Reincarnated? Snail? No, snail's better than that. You might be part of a piece of anatomy that's discarded before it's born. That's what you get your next life. For this karma, you're attacking the marathon of hope continuation right now. And you've taken Terry, Neil's RV, so we're outside helping this cancer. What? Helping it to grow? Is that what you wanted? And each officer that comes by with your little bullying tactics, I'm going to get a body camera. And then we're going to live stream your bullying 24/7. You think it's funny to bully sick people out there? Oh, wonderful.
Look what I'm walking around with.
We need a body camera because you guys think you are allowed to be paid bullies at your $30 an hour bully fee. You think you're allowed to be bullies. So we need to tort you out of your job, tort your job out of its building, tort your building off this unceded land. If that's what you want, I don't care. I was talking to a lawyer today who said they know what a constitutional tort is. They get it. They don't even need me to guide them. So go ahead, injunct me 3 more times for doing nothing for free for people, because no one's allowed to know your stupid little 494 statutes of BC. Whoopee da ding da dong. Your pathetic monopoly of nothingness. Your joke upon humanity. British scumlumbia, or whatever you want to call it. It's really sold to muck. Unseeded, 99%, but that's 100% basically in science. And this is using your unseeded land with your hired bully thugs to promote it, like thinking just because this one pathetic life matters. It means nothing. Your Terrys are still being born every day. I'm part of Women and Children's Hospital. Do you know how many Terrys I see when I just go to the cafeteria? And you're bullying them so their parents won't even slow their Terry's death. Is that your plan? To put all Terrys in the ground and give an order of Canada at the end? That's your silly little plan for Soul to Muck? I mean, you're pathetic. You don't even have the intelligence to play it off, so you just pretend to be colonialists. You're decolonialized within your colonialism. Your intellectual levels are subculturistic. You don't even acknowledge your Hordian mentalities. Is it Hordianism out there? We don't even use humanism anymore. We don't use legalism. We don't use Socratean methods. What do we do as far as a primate group now? I'd say we consumism, right? That's all we've become, is consumism. Well, the end product of consumerism is these horrible cancers. They can be addiction, they can be death, or they can be worse. And that is your farmer bro after Terry Bro mentalito. I don't know where I came up with that.
I don't know.
I'm trying to be
Sounds
funny
good, though.
about it. I'm trying to get you guys to not be on the fence. Terry got off the fence with one leg. Took 2 years running around Port Coke before he decided him, his brother, and his friend, they're going to try to make it across Canada for $1 million and bring about awareness of his cancer. Okay, which was a genus form of osteocancer that basically could spread anywhere. Because that's what cancer is. And it is spreading metaphorically everywhere while everyone is climbing on the fence to build their pocketbooks.
Or to save themselves from, the injustice that's all around us.
They're climbing on the fence.
Nobody wants to get involved with that, and so
Don't
they
wanna
just
be
kind of
involved.
hide. But, we
there's
need
no
to
hiding.
have people stand up.
There's no
at
hiding.
This point.
I mean, that's why Terry ran across Canada. I don't know if you even know a marathon the whole. A lot of you guys were maybe too young for it. But when he got to finally through a few of the maritime provinces, and he got into Ontario, he finally got some people to say, "Hey, why don't we, film what he's doing?" And next thing you know, right, the whole Canadian people were involved. It turned into, you should probably know, $96 million he raised. It was not $1 million.
And counting.
Well, we don't. To this day, it's we don't even really know, probably $1 billion. But all that money, and Terry would have been pissed. As a chemo patient, I can say this. He would have been pissed that money didn't go to patients. It went to doctors' pockets to pretend to do research, not on plants that work and have for millions of years with primates, but worked on a synthetic thing they created in a lab in the last 70, 80 years and called it medicine and got a brand for it and called themselves Farmer Bro. And they don't like that. You don't like that term, do you? But you're all Farmer Bros, right, Jilliet? Oh yeah, I'm suing you too. Fuck, sorry. And I'm not the only one, right? Everyone who took your stupid Truvada for the last 20 years, you killed what? 33 million of us chemo patients. Way to go, Gilead Pharmaceuticals. Mass murderer, guys. Farmer Bro never did so good. I mean, all he did was kill a few million. You guys, amazing. Congratulations, Gilead Pharmaceutical. Let's give them a round of applause. Everybody supports them out here on the street. That's the real story that nobody wants to talk about. And I wish we had a megaphone, and everyone who remembers in the 90s in America, a bunch of us, most of my family was in wheelchairs and scooters and walkers, and my mom used a cane blind, and my aunt wheelchair, my mother aunt wheelchair, and so they didn't allow people to have accommodation like what we call, a bathroom they could get in, or if they went into a restaurant, they were pushed back outside and told, "You're embarrassing my customers." And so we created the American Disability Act. It took a hell of a lot to do that, but how do we do it? And it's funny when you were mentioning earlier, they were, you're going to hurt yourself. And I'm sure they said that to Terry. "Oh, Terry, you're going to get run over. What are you doing on your one leg out there?" Well, Carib Camp, so about 10 years after Terry, people in America said, we're sick of being second-rate citizen. And what they do, they lay down on the street in Times Square during rush hours. And they did that absolutely every day until they actually got to meet with the person in charge of disability accommodation, and then they stayed in their office until the law passed. I mean, stayed there for months, and funny how the government's like, we'll shut off their power and their water so people that have bags and stuff. This is the same government that's in charge right now, guys. Trudeau is no different than every past freaking discriminating bigot government that's never known what a disability is, and he will know next life, thank God. Thank God, karma's there.
And so you
thank God.
And
Trudeau, but you and your kids will have disabilities because of you, you dumbass. You've bred your evil to your next generation and future generations. You've banished them to hexes forever, you dummy. You're so stupid. Your brain is so pathetic. Why? Because you only have a law degree. So what else do you don't actually know anything other than a pathetic little bit of statutes and orders and regulations and whoopee.
So the American Disabilities Act, that's American, that's not Canadian, right?
Trudeau is intentionally withheld a federal disability act for Canadians, and it's going on 8 years now. And he won't allow it because he knows that if he did, all of this picking on these disabled people or picking on any of us chemo patients and Terry's, he wouldn't be allowed to. But by keeping a law keeping a law in place like this guarantees that people that are really disabled have no rights except to die and shut the hell up. And the new MAID, Medical Assistance in Dying Act, is now comes door to door. Instead of giving you your psilocybin like they should be, they come door to door with their death curse and their death pills, and you can now die in the comfort of your own home. We're here for you.
Are you too poor?
That's our truth.
We can solve it for you.
We're here for you. I went through it in criminology during studying it for the whole Rodriguez issues, and of course what Kevorkian and his practice went through. And a lot of people don't know. They think, oh, these terrible guys, Dr. Death. Yeah, you guys should know what it's like to actually be told you're going to die and then be bleeding out of every orifice for a couple of years and wishing you were going to die, and maybe you should have died. But thank God I didn't listen to that, and I just survived that, because most chemo patients don't survive these kind of things. Trust me on this. They want to die. But we don't have to. These plants actually mushrooms especially.
That's a nice shirt.
It's my life. I'm on mushrooms right now. I'm on 2 grams of mushrooms right now, and I'm on a shitload of cannabinoids. I'm eating my caps like sugar, like candy, and and it's allowing me to even be out there and see the suffering and in a way with because these plants and these mushrooms, they bind with me to make me a greater me, better Brix, so I can be stronger than the bricks they locked me in, or the bricks I need to live from, or one day you guys are going to hear my song, Bricks of Weed. I don't know if that's the title so far. Any songwriters want to help me finish writing it? And I think it could be an anthem for our people, finally. I love Neil's anthem, obviously, but oh Canada, go Canada, I'm sorry. I don't even like the word Canada. It wasn't even the right word. They misunderstood the indigenous word for village. It's just showing the ignorance of non-communication, non-cooperation with the indigenous people that own this land, and that if anybody wants help, free help with a torque to take back land, I would love to help the indigenous people and take back their land again. And that's what and you can actually use Truth and Reconciliation Awards money to go after this so-called government for yourselves. You just have to have the standing of indigenous person. I mean, get the DNA done.
There's another thing going on here that I think is extremely disgusting, and we need to expose that. And that is that there's a group of LPs, government licensed cannabis producers, who are suing the provincial government and Mike Farnworth because they feel he's not cracking down hard enough on those illegal dispensaries on Indigenous land. We suspect that is also trickling down to this neighborhood and to us and to other non-licensed cannabis outlets that they're trying to get rid of all of the unlicensed distribution to protect their cartel. We all know that. I hope you know. If you've been watching the show, Ted Smith on the island, who ran the Cannabis Buyers Club for 26 years, one of the best and most compassionate medical cannabis dispensaries ever, has been given a $6.5 million fine by the province for providing cannabis to people. Like, holy crap.
Not surprised, right?
Holy crap.
It's a great bullying technique. It works. It sends a huge message.
Yeah.
Because Ted's been there for so long.
Yeah.
And is so entrenched in people's ideas of grandfathering. I know we just seem to forget that principle of law.
Yeah.
But aren't a grandfathered legal under common law by the grandfathering rule of law?
Well, but
I'm just guessing here. Is not what it says under common law. Now, common law exists in civil law. Everyone should know this, and it exists pre-charter, very, very, and even in criminal law. So, but
evolved for hundreds of years as the way to determine justice.
I would say it evolved for millions of years, not on paper. I would say it was evolved when they began to write scriptures of how people should treat other people. The golden rule is a word, and that was Solomon's court, King Solomon, David's greatest son, right? He created just a shitload of ways and equal ways. He's known for that famous one where 2 women go before him with a baby and say, right, it's mine, and he's like, fine, Give me an axe.
Yeah.
Which one do you want half? And of course,
which half do you want?
With the first one, and this is the fence sitting argument, you see, right? If it was your loved ones and they went, you're going to have your loved one's going to have chemo right in front of you. Do you want him to live or her to live or them to live? I hate using pronouns. Do you want them to live and be with you for another 10, maybe 20, maybe 30 more years? Maybe not till they're 100, but till they're 90, and I had adopted parents. They were disabled extremely, one blind, we lived in, and I watched them live to be 90. And as I continued to sneak microdosing into them, and always cannabis in everything I cooked for them. I did all the cooking. And I absolutely, every dinner, I infused cannabis and gave it to them at bedtime. Nice. And they lived to be 90, my mom 92. Wow. 90. And
was she blind all her life?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
And I remember at 50, she was 50 when I was 8, and they adopted me when I was they adopted me, right? They did not have to come. They adopted me and my adopted brother because they saw that children who have no parents need a parent. And that's the kind of heart these people had, and that's the heart I have now. I mean, I've 9 children. I'm blessed with 9 children, and all more than half are adopted. And that's the way we should be. We should be out there looking for kids that have no home and giving them a home. Terry's, and there's thousands of Terry's over there, women and children that are in foster care. You want to know why? Because parents, rather than give their kid medical cannabis, give them up to the ministry. And then what happens? Right? The ministry won't do anything for cannabis or mushrooms for these patients that need it. And even in microdose, which is 1/50th of a dose. Okay, microdose is 1/50th of a dose, according to Harvard, Oxford, Cornell, Cambridge, University of London. That's the protocol, period. And been the protocol, just so you know, since about 1951, right? They skipped quite along from 1960 to 15 years ago, they skipped. But the research is pretty overwhelming, especially about psilocybin. It's pretty fucking overwhelming. I love the way they fell upon psilocybin research by accident, right? Mm-hmm. Hoffman touching it by accident. Oops! 250 mil drip he got. I'm on more than that right now. And when you get used to it and you can be on it, it does not affect you. It enriches you. It makes sure that you're not going to die. Mycelium has survived for at least 3.5 billion years, if not longer, in the universe. On this planet, 3.5 billion. And it works as a symbiotic relationship with whatever. Mycorrhizal works with 90% of every plant in the world. And mycelium works with primates in a very special way. That's why I think the whole stonebait theory is totally real. And we, as normal, just walking around primates, we can benefit on microdosing absolutely every day of our lives. I have friends that I know watching right now is going, Greg, but they are benefiting by dosing small every day. And they fought with me for months, and now they're
feeling better,
living their best life, because mycelium won't give you the option of having a bad day, being in a bad mood, thinking the wrong way, having a break in your brain, a neurogenital breakdown, or a degenerative disease, or especially the frontal lobe, right? Which is so freaking important, is our frontal lobe. Matures at 20, starts to break down at 40, loses 2% blood flow every 10 years. Mm. It is the key to our essence. It basically is what's fed by the pineal gland itself, which is creation, existence, spirituality, the science of those things. And I wish we could have Dennis McKenna talk on the show, because he knows, like Terrence knew, this stuff on an incredible microbiological level that I got to spend months at different campsites in Chilliwack with Steve Cubby, Stephen Wynn Cubby, I hope you're out there, and you're an awesome guy. He knew Terrence McKenna personally. In fact, if you read some of those books, Cubby was in the foreword of many of those Terrence McKenna books. So he really knew, and these are the conversations that I just sort of said, that scientific version of getting high. That's the beauty of the science that is saving the lives of chemo patients. They don't even know it, because they don't understand the relationship. The mycelium will make sure that you survive so it can survive. as long as you put it into you every day and give it its opportunity to do neurogenesis, to do plaque breakdown, to do those things, you can't stop. The moment of any of these chemo patients or Terrys, they try to stop, they're fucked. If any of these guys out there just go cold turkey without plants, they talk about going back to powders and pills and drinks. Their body, doesn't matter. It's not the same thing, and it will never be. Their clock will start, and they will start to. It's a death clock. Happens in all of us. When you're specialists or a team of specialists say you have 2 years to live, like they did with Terry, or they did that with me too. You have 2 years to live. Your brain subconsciously, and which your cells, they just and they set a clock off, and your cells, your whole metabolism starts to actually die. Prepare for death. I mean, it's one thing they tell people when you get locked up for long periods of time in prison. You have to bury your former life, your freedom, yourself, your happiness. You have to have like an actual wake and a funeral within your own mind, in your body, and you cry about it, and you have to prepare yourself for that hard time, that long time it's called. And I've unfortunately been through it myself, and it's something that it changes you at a level that you can't go back again. I love that philosophy of you can't, once you become a pickle, you can't become a cucumber. You can't go back.
Can't go back.
You can't go back. And these guys can't go back. All we can do is we can ease the transition with these plants and mushrooms, because they have been for millions of years the connection, the cushion, the micro allability, the neuroprocessing link. They've been that for all this time, for all of us, not just us primates, but us primates have benefited the most from it, I think, because you look at some of the other primates that I believe have evolved way beyond our primate group. I know we seem like we think we're a better evolved primate, but I don't agree. I think the capuchin monkey, I think, is super intelligent. I know gorillas can hold like up to 500 words in their vocab of sign language. I don't know how many you can do. I've been doing sign language since I was a kid. Which again, I tell people that was my one thing I could benefit. I was able to offer the disability movement in America. Is I knew sign language because a lot of my parents and my aunt's friends were deaf. And reading lips is great when someone will slow down and talk for you like this. But trust me, when you're a kid, your mouth is brrr, and so people are and so you don't communicate, they lose that communication. So I would slow down. We actually created the finger singer group, where we slowed down signs and even to the point of having a dance step to went with it. And we would perform that song for whole audiences of deaf kids at deaf schools, because they had nobody. And we would actually have we put the bass on heavy, so you could at least feel the bass. They could feel the bass out there, and you could see them, right? And see us do this sign, so they knew what that there was a word that went with that. It never even understood that existed. And people in the normal world, you guys don't understand these things. You don't, and that's why it's all your job just to get off the fence and support what Neil's trying to tell you. These people are diminished capacity. They are in a position of where they need support, they need protection. They are not in a position where they can make those decisions that are life or death on their own. They need real help. These plants are that real help in a molecular level, working with them in their brain, in their heart, in all of their different organisms. Their endocannabinoid system is super important. Neil is one of those people that has a pretty good endocannabinoid system. And how do I know that? Because if he takes a time off from pot, his system still balances pretty good. Me, I don't have a good endocannabinoid system. A lot of people don't have a good endocannabinoid. And the more it's diminished by hard abuse or heavy trauma, it needs a lot more phyto enhancement of cannabinoids to get back up there, so it can get close to what Neil can benefit from. And a lot of people can. I know several people. I worked in fields where nobody smoked pot, where I was the only, and in fact, they didn't even know I smoked pot, and most of my practice in that field because I didn't share it with him, because I knew how they would talk about people that were using pot, like just like you think Reefer Madness is dead. It's not in those other circles. In the circles of law, court services, circles, I'm telling you, they still believe all drugs are reefer madness. They've never known what a disability is. They've never seen it, never experienced it in their life. They don't know what it could be. Anyone who's doing a drug for any reason, something's wrong with them mentally. That's why Health Canada created the Mental Health and Addiction Ministry. Why not just keep cannabis in Health Canada? Because they acknowledge that they're never going to give it a medical okay. So people like me, people like Terry, we were always treated like garbage. And I know for a fact, while I was waiting for my Health Canada exemption, the police showed up and raided me. Charged me for, at first, production. And then I went and reminded them about the holy smoke. And they went, oh, wonderful. Well, we're going to charge you for trafficking also, 5-2. And I'm like, whoa, now I'm facing a year and freaking a half, they're telling me. Okay, so what did I do? I reverse challenged them, okay, using a constitutional remedy back on them. Because why? Well, first and foremost, why am I applying for an exemption from Health Canada in the first place? How could a law apply to someone that has that legal protection of an exemption status? That in the laws and the cases, because there was no real cases back then. Parker had won 2 criminal cases, but really, Wakeford, it was only talking about. There really wasn't any real cases yet. And we had to literally guide judges at a level that Neil just put up with last year. He came across a judge and knew really nothing about cannabis, medical cannabis, because that's that circle I'm telling you about. That's how they all think. Yeah. So you can only deal with them at the highest level of tort, so that they can be tort feasors themselves if they defame, participate in any further damages in refusing, messing with, whatever. And that happens in a lot of other government cases. They're really good at using, this no right mentality. Corporations law, family law, right? No rights. Nobody gets rights.
Indigenous
have their own bloody act, and you can even use that bloody act to pay for your case. I know. I wish I had. I mean, I did my DNA. I wish I had just one little allele of Indigenous, because I would be for sure doing a case myself. Applying first. You apply the Truth and Reconciliation Fund. It's a fund. You ask them for the maximum to fund a case. You're probably going to need $4 to $5 million. And then while you're doing that, or before you do that, get the lawyer to agree in advance, get the agreement made up. Then you apply for the funding so you can pay that lawyer that fee, right? So none of that's coming out of pocket, right? Now you can raise money for what you're doing, because you got those covered, right? Because those are a monopoly issue, right? Legal fees are a monopoly issue. The Legal Services Act, the Law Society owns. The Legal Profession Act, Law Society wrote. It's a monopoly. The same way you think of ICBC. Why can't we get insurance anywhere else? Monopoly. Right? We've been trained in BC for monopolies. Child and Family Services has not amended their bloody law since residential schools in 96 here. They haven't bothered to get rid of that law because they went from building placements to pilot placements. And they fund a whole pilot foster placement program to stand in place of the school that they used to use. But it's the same exact system. The law is no different, implemented the same way. And you hear these and these bands, the association, Métis, and they sign off on whatever the government tells them. Officially, in court, they sign off. They don't not only black stalking them, they don't show up and do anything. And all that type of people, they're funded to get the heck out of the way. They just get out of the way. Right. And you as an Indigenous parent, or, you're just, so I don't actually have access to my children then because they're Indigenous, because you have this law that's still in place.
Well,
Why aren't the general people mad about? Well, because it's not them. Because white people wouldn't even know the Indigenous Child and Family Act. Why would they even care?
And it's like you exposed on the show the other time when you were here about how the Cannabis Act really is the exact same as what the CDSA was all about. It hasn't really changed at all. A little bit added enforcement, and there's some added penalties you can get there.
They created a way to fund further and more depth and more enforceability.
Yeah.
That's all they did. Previously, all of the police forces would have green team funds or green team teams. There was a couple areas of BC that actually had green team. All those people had to find new work. Most of them went in and out of corrections part-time. And I know I'm suing a lot of these guys. Cops are also corrections, they all do like moonlight. They're allowed to do this, right? And they can earn like $70 an hour in their 3 jobs. Hello, we've just created this correction industry, and by them taking the CDSA, calling it the Cannabis Act now, or Cannabis Act calling it CDA, whatever they're trying to call it, they basically have just found a way to, at every level. Like I was just noticing in your ticket, the first thing it says in there, it's not the government of Canada. It should be. But this is how what they're calling these now, is these offenses are, which it should have been, CDSA, right? But here's what you are, Canada, Province of British Columbia. So they're basically calling Province of British Columbia Canada itself now. They've taken it to that level of it's not the federal, it should be the federal, he should be charged under the CDSA or, it doesn't actually say. I think it's you need to say, there it is, Cannabis Act.
Yeah.
So it should be federal.
Yeah.
Why is it Province of British Columbia at all? Because they're authorizing the same powers, federal powers, to provincial peace officers, without them taking or being trained. They never even trained the Dream Team either, by the way. They took them for 1 day, 20-hour courses, or 2 day, 20-hour courses, and they were considered cannabis experts. How do I know? I was a qualified cannabis expert back then. I actually know exactly what it takes to be a cannabis expert, qualified by a court. These guys are not qualified, and so they took all those unqualified guys and have created a huge criminal enforcement end of the Cannabis Act. Everyone thinks the Cannabis Act was created to legalize. Right. That was a tiny little smudge. Just like with Planned Prairie, to fool everyone. Planned Prairie fooled people for years. They even paid Planned Prairie $10.5 million to fool people that they were going to actually do a supply. This is fooling everyone. All these companies, everybody that's paid millions and billions, you're being fooled by a government that's worth quadrillions. They're just fooling you, right? The industry is what we've been doing for 30 years now. This is the industry. You can fund and work with us, and that's it. And how do we make cannabis licit? Let's talk about that. How would Terry Fox have made cannabis licit? Let's figure this one out here. Let's just spitball. I don't know. How would a terminal or exempted or cancer, metaphorically ridden patient do that, right? How would they do that? By being alive. Hello? Yeah, people... I can't believe that you don't see the connection, that the metaphor is screaming at you. Terrys are out here. They've just grown up a bit, but they're right here. I don't even consider that grown up. The frontal lobe doesn't mature really till you're 30. So really, most people out here are not really ready to be out here yet. They need to have enough plants and mushrooms they will get to be mature frontal lobes, and then cortex and mature hippocampus, and one day, hopefully a pineal that works properly, and one day, but that may never happen. So we need to be with them, and the plants, which it's not us, plants and mushrooms, the millions and millions of years working with us, they are ready to work for us still. Just get out of their way.
The problem is these people can't advocate for themselves.
Our plants and mushrooms can't advocate for themselves either. We have to be the one doing it. The ones that are consumers, living in it, walking around, living somehow. And it's the promotion rule, right? The stupid Cannabis Act. If you guys remember way back in the 90s, this is something Mark Emery did for us. It was wonderful. He realized that 462.2 of the criminal code was outrageous. I think Chris Clay did too as well. I think a few people did back then. They went, this is outrageous. That basically was illegal to talk good in any way about cannabis or any illicit drug, which cannabis is labeled as. Well, the Cannabis Act is basically feeding us the 462.2 under its Section 7 promotion part. They've really basically,
That's right.
it even reads.
You can't put it on a shirt or a hat or anything like that.
Even the writing of the way they wrote it, it's got the same language as 462.2 had.
Right.
So what they did is they basically, using their statute sort of regulation bullshit, they just restatute 462.2, Mark. I know, bud. See what I mean?
Well, it
Wasting
is
our
just
fucking
so
time.
ludicrous. Like, for them to say that, okay, well, people can have high-dose edibles as long as they've got a doctor supporting them.
But they can't get high dose edibles because the doctor won't send you to a location like you. They send you to where it's 10 milligrams. Will never. You would die from the sugar. You'd have diabetes before it would work.
Yeah,
I can't. You can't. Anybody who's suffering with any kind of cancer, metaphorical or otherwise, if they feed sugar in there, what is the word again? Metha.
Oh, I don't know.
Can't remember the word.
That's a tough word.
If we can remember Jack's word.
Yeah.
Jack's Garage. Jack, if you're out there.
Jack Kungle.
Yes.
Look him up. Jack's Garage.
But he's absolutely right. If you're dealing with those, you cannot be feeding that certain hormone protein living in your body. If you feed it, you will put the clock on for sure.
Yeah.
And it's not just a metaphysical, metaphorical, literal thinking clock, which, by the way, you do have the power to think your cells into reality. It's not just some kind of silly voodoo yoga goal. It's real. You are connected to your cells with your thoughts. Mm-hmm. That's why the Zoroastrians had that one mantra: good thoughts, good words, good deeds. Because it starts in thought. If our brains are not thinking the right thought, the words will never come out right, and the deeds will always be evil.
Right.
And that's, they came up with the fact of Ahura Mazda, which was the supreme intelligence of all of us. And from that, people misunderstood the agramana to mean the devil, which is not what it means. Nothing to do with that. And that's, unfortunately, the ancient Babylonians, when they headed back to Jerusalem, they said, hey, we heard of this word, agramana. We think it means this. And they just started coming, diva, devil, dava. And they came up with a word which was no such thing, right? Lucifer was an angel. He was part of the big deal. He knew what was going on the whole time. Him and Yahweh had a plan for all of us. It's still underway. We are just never going to be a part of that plan, but we can be part of the good that is part of that plan. That's what we're supposed to be doing. And you're feeling bad every day, tell yourself, when you're feeling bad, what do you think Terry did when he was feeling bad? When he got up that morning, he had a stump to put on his leg, and he thought, I got to run 25 kilometers today. Okay? 25 miles. Sorry, he ran marathon a day. Let me be clear. 25 miles a day with one leg, right? That's because he knew if he didn't do that, no one would get off. At the time, the funding for his kind of illness didn't exist. There was now maybe 2 doctors in the world were working on osteosarcoma. That's it. It's just, and you think, wow, it's a cancer for kids. There's no money in it for them, right? It's about money for these guys. That's why Terry thought, I'm going to raise money and then at least I'll raise awareness. Well, awareness hasn't been raised yet. We're still sitting there at the bottom of awareness. With the money, it's just grown to almost $700 million. I think $700 million is what it's raised. The Terry Fox Foundation and the Marathon of Hope Foundation. But he never got to see any of that, of course, as you guys know, because chemo took him. Yeah. But he wouldn't have let it take him. If he'd have known, he could have had plants and mushrooms. And even if he didn't have to run, he would at least, I'm going to stay alive. He would have chosen what I chose. I feel very strongly about that. And I've spent a lot of time studying his legacy and his family. And I don't know them personally, and I know a few people that say they know them. And I would love to, to see what their opinion is. If Terry could have survived it, would he have survived it? And the guy was running every day on one leg. Yeah. You're telling me he wouldn't have used plants to live? Are you kidding me, right? Yeah. And that's what you guys need to think about. You took a van. Like, you wouldn't have took Terry's van, would you? Not in front of the cameras, anyway. You were willing to do that here. Because you don't see the cancer that Neil's fighting here. You don't see this cancer. It's a metaphorical, big cancer, bigger than you're ever going to deal with. And half your world's going to get it anyway. So, yeah, true dumb, eventually half the people you know are going to get it. So you're going to bury half of them. And it may be in the next 20, 30 years. So, yeah, you got a little bit of time to live in fantasy. But that's the reality. Cancer takes half. half of Canada, half of America. That's just science. That's just stats. Wow. So you want to let someone live on cancer, or you want to take them on cancer? Cancer's been around for millennium. It's always been around. Primates have had cancer for a very, very long time. Why do you think primates? My wife shows me wonderful videos of primates out in the wild, and they sure as heck know where to go when they have cancer and eat the plants. What's next? There's no question. And why would they not? Why would they? Oh my God, I'm going to let the cancer take me today. I'm just going to lay here and just. Right? That's Mother Nature and you being you. And we are primates, part of Mother Nature. You're a primate. We're just primates. Walking around, 23rd primate, looking for plants and mushrooms, and finding nothing. And then, of course, you take mate instead because you can't get mushrooms.
Right. Yeah, it's really sad that the people that are the most in trouble aren't able to get the help they need.
We need a theme song. And it doesn't have to be Brix of Weed, but we need a theme song that's not "Oh Cannabis, Oh Canada," that's about what's going on right now, out here right now.
Yeah.
We do. I don't have those skills. I can write amazing, really cool stuff. In fact, I thought about, Martin Luther King, who was very much bastardized after the fact, like I was. I mean, I was bastardized after the fact, but he was bastardized much later. And one of the amazing things he did, not just getting a Nobel Prize for Peace, but he got a Grammy. A lot of people aren't aware of that. He got a Grammy for a spoken word Grammy.
I see.
It's something that I feel that I'm pretty good at, is spoken word stuff. I mean, you guys have heard me enough talk now. Can you imagine me putting out? I mean, at the time you only had records, but he sold millions of records, and this was all before he got his Nobel Prize, and it was a way to get his speeches out to the general people, right? I mean, I'm thinking about maybe doing a Patreon site and putting them all up there for $1 or something, so everybody can have all of my speeches and. Or something, a way to, make sure, and then put money to a real, I don't know what you guys are doing when you win your case, but I'm going to have a lot of money in a trust fund to help organizations that need it. And this type of issue is going to be one of the big ones that I'm going to fund myself every extra tax dollar I have, obviously. And when I'm using a trust fund, I won't have tax dollars. So guess what? I can do whatever the hell I want because I know how to do all that stuff. Lucky me, had a lot of finance training, back in the day.
Right.
So, it's really sad at this moment because I sit and think, man, they're building right across the street, a 100-story building for $100 million. I used to be involved with projects like that with investment companies. Like, it was just all the time. I was like, they would have me in on it for schematics because I can read the whole plan so fast and I can ingest whatever. It doesn't really matter what it is. I'm like a wise man. Law is one thing I'm really good at, but I'm better at plants and medicine and mushrooms and astrology and. All Zoroastrians have always been wise men, and you ask what a wise man is. Well, it's everything that we can know. We know. I mean, that's just all real great knowledge came from the Arab area for the Arab culture, and that's my culture. That's probably why I have a hard time dealing with the cold here. Where I'm from, and the part of the world where it's beautiful, warm all the bloody time. It's heaven. And I mean that's where all the Christ, really all of them, all the great prophets came from for a reason, because it is the place to be. And people really care about it, people there more than they care about themselves, which is how, if we live like that here, no billionaires would be walking around Canada. We would just ask them forfeit all their money and give it to the public, and that'd be too bad for them. And that's caring about others more than us. That's what Solomon, if he was around, that's what he'd do. A real king. We don't have any of them. I don't think Canada's ever had a real king ever. We've had colonialists that just attack my beautiful indigenous people and put their lives at jeopardy for pennies at first, and now it's for huge amounts of dollars, and it's their lives mean more than our lives. It's just absurdity. That's not how it really works. Our lives are equal 100% from start to finish at every level, and that's every living thing. Right? Carnition is a real problem. We accept we can eat this animal, not this animal. We can hurt this animal, not this. If we agree that carnition is fake and remove it from our minds, we will stop fueling our bodies with stupid things, including eating our other reincarnated brothers and sisters, because that's just, there's no real fuel there anyway. Fuel is from plants and mushrooms. Always has been. What have we been eating for a millennium? Think about it. What were you out on the Serengeti tundra? What do you think you found? Well, you would have found a little bit of plants here and there. You would have found ungulate shit. And what do you think grew out of ungulate shit? Magic bloody mushrooms, right? At the time, we know Afrikaans, Treskies, so we know exactly what grew there. And wonderful. So you were eating food that was good for you, and you were getting fueled. I have, at least once a day, I have mushroom dinner, a mushroom meal. And it fuels me, and not just psychedelically, but fuels me food-wise, medicine, vitamins. No craziness going on. If you ask my wife, if I didn't have mushrooms every day, who knows where things would be. And, it's hard, believe me, that it's not easy to ingest psilocybin every day. It's not. But it's vitally important if you're a cancer patient or a cancer survivor or cancer sufferer, all these words we use. Basically, cancer and primates go together. And what happens with them? Is it going to metastasize or not? That's depending on what kind of environment controls you put on yourself. You choose those controls by your hand to mouth.
How do you ingest mushrooms? Do you just eat them raw?
Sometimes. Sometimes. I've been, the ones I'm on today is the one of, I don't know if you want me to say.
Sure.
A mushroom chocolate.
Right.
I've been trying to figure out what strain it is. I think it's Golden Teachers. But it's a 2-gram mushroom chocolate I did.
Right.
And it's a very easy way to consume with mushrooms is with chocolate. I think mushrooms work really good in many different ways. I like to try and eat them, yes, but I think eating them can be difficult because if you eat them every day, your taste buds, as you start to digest and break down your saliva, you feel it's like this, I don't know how to say, it's like a physical flashback you have in your mouth, and sometimes you get almost like a nauseated thing passes. So that's hard for most people. I acknowledge that. So I loved your idea. I've done many times using tomato juice and V8 juice, just putting it in quickly or putting it in my mouth and using it to drink it with. Right. I also Diet ginger ale is one of my go-tos. So I sometimes I can get it to go down with diet ginger. I'll just chew it, but you have to chew it down a bit. I find if I have done ways where I've blended into different drinks and stuff, and it works fantastic. Sometimes more than I want. I want the dose to be as consistent as possible. But one thing I really like to do is alternate the strains. Right. I like to do different mushrooms every single day, not the same mushroom. Even if I've grown a bag of these ones, I'll keep them as I work through other ones to continue to do different effects on the brain, different neurogenesis activities, opens different and new areas. The wonderful thing it does as an older person, over 50, is a lot of the stuff that happened in our younger life, we naturally have forgotten or have moved to parts of our neurons that are dormant. Mushrooms, they don't give a crap about that. They get in there and you give them enough time, they're going to find that connection and they're going to reconnect it. And you're going to wake up that next day and go, wow, I haven't thought about that in forever. And wow, I can remember and smell it and see the color. And they've done that for you because it's nothing personal. They're just working with you. We as primates, plants and mushrooms have always been our go-to everything. That's just the way it is. It doesn't matter what you want to believe or consider or change or have been lied to through one monopoly or prohibition or another. The reality is we are all walking around as primates with very little hair, but we are primates and our bodies need to keep the cancers down, all of them. And addiction cancers, none of us could have grown the drugs that make those addictions. Okay? Mushrooms you can't get addicted to. In fact, very hard to get addicted from natural opium and natural coca and all those. Very, very hard. It was these petrochemical companies that came up with these additives and supplements and preservatives that allowed for these fake false drugs to become realities. It wasn't like, eureka, we know how to help people. That never existed. That's what mushrooms and plants and your medicine man, which is Zoroastrian, maybe in my case, that's why we've been trying to do this, and that's why somehow we survive. And, I can assure you, a couple years ago, I was walking with a walker. I was, pushing, 280, 290. I was thinking, I'm ready to use a wheelchair or scooter. And, and I just kind of said to myself, why am I not following my own way of thinking? Right? Would Buddha, would Gandhi, would any of these people be eating and consuming these things and then telling people to use plants? No. So I cut out all things that are not plants and mushrooms. And I'm going on 2 years, I think it's like 18, 19 months now. Fought my specialist for the first 6 months because they were like, you must eat animal protein to live. They totally don't know what they're talking about. You don't, in fact, it actually, when you don't ingest animal protein, it changes the metabolism of your endothelial lining of all of your blood vessels. And when you just doing that one step removes the ability to be inflamed in the hardest places like the brain. Because the brain is you'd be shocked at the amount of blood flow it gets. And if it doesn't get the glucose to open it up, it doesn't flow properly. And glucose comes from plants and mushrooms. It does not come from eating animals. So when you eat animals, you're basically starving your brain. Why would you want it? The brain is your doorway to, pineal is the doorway to creation and spirituality. Hippocampus is the core, the frontal lobe. That is your incredible connection of you and this inner you and the outer you. And these are us. And every primate, we all have this. We're all the same, and we all should be, assuming we're going to have cancers, or everyone's going to have cancers, so have plants and mushrooms always available. And what I do is I put it into my food. I eat with it. I cook with it. Every night when I make meal, cannabis is part of that. I fry it into it. I was just trying to think of what I did last night. I had 2 tablespoons of cannabis oil in it, so about 20 of my own. I use my own oil, which I make myself. I infuse myself into virgin olive oil, so I can cook in anything. And it was like 20. So about 20 caps. Each cap is 250 milligrams. So 25, right? 4,500 milligrams. My wife and I split. It's just wonderful. And but I was already on the psilocybins of El Chaco, which are wonderful strain, because where do these names and strains come from? Okay, guys. Ungulates are super important things. We treat them like nothing, like they're mega farmable and put them in cage and kennels. Ungulates are the pathway to enlightenment. Why do you think cows were worshipped in all the ancient world? Because the mushrooms that came from them enlightened everybody. Right. And everyone was like, wow, this is the thing. You look at Gulbi Tepe, the most ancient religious site on the world. It's all ungulates that are carved into the stones. Because each one produces a different strain of mushrooms. And that's where all the names and strains come from a region, but from ungulate manure. That's why they were so loved by the ancients, because that's where you're going to get your food source, of course, and you're going to get a wonderful night and maybe a couple days of wonderful, elevated thinking. Just to go from to unk. I know it seems like stupid to us, but that's communication. And if 5 of them figured what they all meant by that, each of their brains created those resolved synaptic connections, and that became the beginning of language. In a primate, us, so monkeys started speaking, we are monkeys, we started speaking, and that's, but not just speaking, we lived so well. Think of how amazing monkeys are in the wild. Watch them for a bit in the wild. What they can do with their hands and their feet, they can just sit there and eat with their toes all day and scratch their ears with their toe, and they can do 360 this way and that way, and their yoga's got nothing on these guys. And their strength, they can hold themselves by 2 toes, or like, think about it. I do pull-ups a lot, and now because I see how important not giving up that ability to pull, because I really think keeping the body moving is the key, not just to body's health, the brain. by not exercising our body, even just minimally, allows our brain to shrink and to go into dementia and Alzheimer's prematurely. And many of us that wouldn't even have those symptoms till way later in life. We all have this just basic movement. There's I think of that Dr. Suzuki lady who she's developed that really neat little sort of affirmation movement. I remember I was telling you the other day, and she just sort of, I am strong, I am, and just even from a chair you can do it. Just getting, and this is something I used to do with my parents. When they couldn't do nothing, we'd sit in the chair, I'd give them the edible cannabis, right? And then, sure as heck, I'd be like, okay, let's do some, I'd put on some music and I'd get them to follow. My dad would even just follow along, and just moving keeps the brain from going into this plaque building problem, right? All primates have it. It's just primate, right? So we have to be proactive about that one part of our brain, right? The worst part is the real good one, right? The frontal lobe, it develops the earliest, which means it goes bad the quickest. So must be exercised, and not just mentally, but actually physically moving the body, pumping blood flow to it, and not keeps these parts going. And everyone in nursing homes, they talk about these exercise programs that they don't even see the point of just getting them moving in the chair, just so their upper body has and the arms too, because you got to kind of get that cardio flow of this part of the body moving, and you see a change, just that. And a couple of these fellas that I'm now getting to do mushrooms, they are doing things. So it's not just the mushrooms doing wonderful things at night through a micro dosing, medium micro, because I don't do, my protocols is not just microdose, it's microdose, medium dose, megadose. It's a protocol for cancer patients, metaphorical and real. Okay, and so that's how, and so these people that I met that I believe are having metaphorical cancer issues, and to see them, the mushrooms making them not be docile, making their body keep them moving good, and so it does just this symbiotic relationship does amazing things for these bodies of these people that were getting ready to buy caskets, and now they're absolutely. I want to buy into something new. I want to get something new now. I want to live. Maybe I'm going to have a girlfriend again. Because that's a big thing, right? When you actually give up plants, or use plants and give up meat, the what they call the canary in the coal mine for having inflammation issues as a man is obviously issues down there. So how to deal with it? Well, you stop eating anything but plants and mushrooms, and that issue corrects itself. And now you know that the more important issue that are also having problems, the canary's yelling for you, they're dealt with too, right? That's why you have to be proactive right from here to here. That's the proaction, right? And yes, if we start, and it starts in the brain, the thought. So I'm going to think, good thought. I'm going to put in good. Make that decision. And that decision manifests in good things inside your physical body, right? If you speak good words, which, so few people want to do that. Just speak good words. It's so easy to say, I'm having a bad day, I don't feel good, my back hurts. That's speaking bad words, and you're telling your body that. You're telling your cells that thing, and it's going, you're right, it is bad. I don't like it. Yes. Welcome to reality, because your reality thought becomes reality when you manifest it. That's just fact.
Yeah, we have a lot of people that we help here that use mushrooms and report all kinds of good stuff with them.
It's amazing.
It's just crazy that the government thinks they can make that illegal for people. It's stuff that grows in the ground in our yards, front and back, and in the parks all around us.
It grows in ungulates, guys.
So
how are you going to stop it? All over the Fraser Valley, there's ungulates everywhere. What are you going to do? Yeah. Put them all inside so they can't shed?
In Missouri, Adela Wisdom, or Wilson, I don't know her real name, I guess, Adela Wisdom, she's facing all kinds of jail time because they just found some wild cannabis plants growing on her plant there, on her property there. So what are they going to do with mushrooms when we all have mushrooms growing on our property everywhere? It's just insane that public servants get involved with it.
That lawsuit thing. Lost the current one where Farnsworth is suing indigenous cannabis farmers.
No, the LPs are suing
The
Farnsworth.
LPs
Yeah, and we
are
didn't
suing
skip it.
Okay.
I did mention it.
Yeah, let's do that one. Let's deal with that one. We didn't really talk about it. So Farnsworth's office, or the Ministry of Attorney General of Public Safety, is being sued by LP or licensed dispensaries.
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
They think that they should crack down harder on the indigenous groups that are wanting to have dispensaries that are not licensed. They feel disgusting on a couple of different levels. It's disgusting that somebody involved with cannabis would want to see a clamp down on somebody else involved with cannabis. That's really stupid.
We see what it is.
Well, it's corruption only. For sure.
If they want to,
but also because it's indigenous people. I mean, the indigenous people, and we're all indigenous here. I mean, and we're all sovereign here, and they're all sovereign as well. And to be suing the government because they're not clamping down on the sovereign indigenous people who have decided to take control of the plant medicines themselves. Yeah. This is just terrible, and I want to know who these people are. I want them exposed.
I think you asked my opinion, and I want to say I think these indigenous brothers and sisters out there, we don't know. I don't know any personally, but I wish I did. They need, if they have been actually served in action.
No, they're not being served. It's Farnsworth who's being served. They're supposed to be penalized. So that's what these people want.
I don't see how they're going to get that remedy from suing Farnsworth. They're going to have to. Farnsworth will have to vicariously sue the cross-claim, counterclaim them in order to damage. To offset his damage.
Well, they just want him to go in there and shut those places down and levy big fines against them.
Is that what it says in the remedy? So we need to look at the documents. I would say that it's more about. I'm assuming they're doing it for profit margin, money, stock,
for sure.
Future stocks and stuff.
They're not doing well, and they want everything that's in competition shut down.
And that's a lot of that's coming from, I'm sure, their shareholders, their stock owners, their dividend owners.
Yeah.
Because that's how it is, and it's corporations law again.
All those would be putting pressure on them.
The corporation, that's just everybody investing in this industry. They are being a part of this corporation monopoly of cannabis that it will eventually, it's done it to the medical community, is doing it to the cancer community now and before, and it's going to obviously sees the indigenous, as always, as another way to feigned damages. Like, I don't see how they're going to get damages I don't even see how they're going to get any damages at all. It's just literally... It's stall tactics over just putting out a program that will actually work. The government doesn't want to put a program out that works.
And it's not like they're not doing anything to clamp down on the illegal dispensaries.
No, totally.
6.5 million to Ted Smith. And I think that there's a chance it's trickled down to us. And in fact, whether it has or not, that mentality is certainly at play here.
It is the mentality.
What we're doing, we don't have a license for, and so therefore we should be shut down until we do. But the reality of it is that we can't get a license. They're not going to give us a license. So therefore, what are we supposed to do? Just walk away. And that's something that we can't do in all good conscience. We can't do that. So anyway, I thank you very much, Brian, for enlightening us with all that great information there for sure. The world needs more plant medicines. They need more plants, and we need to kill less animals for sure. I agree with that 100%. So you want to do a trick?
Do you want a magic trick?
Sure, do a magic trick for us.
You guys want some magic?
Sure.
I got some real magic here. Did you guys see my beautiful phone from my awesome daughter, Tatiana?
I was going to say, yeah.
She loves to give me update every time she sees me. It's new stickers for my phone.
I see.
I should show you. She does her own little TikToks on my page.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I'm very blessed to have some amazing indigenous kids. Really, really blessed. Okay, guys. So
is this a cannabis centric magic
trick?
I
didn't think of cannabis for this trick, unfortunately.
We do some of those too.
I know I do have. I did one yesterday for you that was sort of cannabis. Yes, I do. I might be able to do a cannabis trick too, actually. I don't know how much time you have. I don't know how much. Okay. All right. So I'm actually using the great, one of my heroes, Mr. Chris Angel's cards. I love Chris Angel, and I love his cancer. Chris Angel, Cancer for Children nonprofit. He's a freaking awesome dude. Okay. So first of all, I'm going to show everybody the deck of cards. Okay.
I can't see over there.
Oh, okay. Let me do it this way. So, Neil, you want to make sure?
Looks like a deck of cards. Is there a blank one there? What's that one there?
Well, there you go. I was just going to show you that.
All right, they're all there.
It's a full deck of cards. Okay, because that's important, because I've had people say afterwards, it wasn't a deck of cards, Brian. You're full of shit, Brian. It's not real. Okay. So anyway.
That's just because you fooled him.
Well, there you go. So as you can see, these are Chris. I don't know if I showed you. These are the Chris Angel cards. I did. You did see that?
Well, I don't know if anybody at home saw it.
Well, there's his signature at the bottom, right? Chris Angel. I don't know if you guys can see it, right? Love Chris Angel. Paid for this trick. He's a genius. My heroes. All right. So let me start with. It's not really cannabis, though. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Okay. So you guys see the deck of cards. So I'll just put the deck of cards down. Sorry, I don't want to. It does it better on felt than on regular.
Right. I felt that.
I definitely need another joint. I really only brought one joint with me. Silly me. But whatever. That's my. Oh look, it worked. See, magic. Look at that, magic. Oh, okay. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I actually use a lot of cannabis. All right, so cannabis and magic. Very unusual, I'm sure. Okay, so I need a little piece of paper. Oop, I'm gonna be dropping stuff. Just a little, just something like that. Perfect. Awesome. Okay,
Magic.
so before we even begin this, so this is a double blind magic trick, which means I don't know the card that he picks, and he doesn't get to know the card he picks. Okay, guys?
I certainly don't know.
But what I'm gonna do before everything, time travel. Time travel is my favorite thing. Mushrooms allow me to do this. I'm going to move ahead a few minutes and think of what the card he's going to pick. Okay.
I don't want to look because I don't want to know what card I'm going to
Nope. Okay. Who's going to hold this?
Oh, and Neil will probably hold it.
Neil, hold that for us, buddy. Okay. Thank you. Where's my ashtray? Oh, there it is.
I moved it.
That's okay. I don't want to put it here. I'll put it right here. All right, guys. So let's get this. Road on the show, or show on the road here. I haven't done a magic trick today. So, okay. So what I'm going to want Neil to do here. Sorry, can I move this a little bit?
Sure.
Is I'm going to want you to just point to a card. Which one? No, don't take your finger. Keep your finger right on it. This bottom one?
Yep.
This one here?
No, this one. No.
Oh, okay. Okay. This one?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Okay, awesome. Okay. There's the card. Okay. So what I'm going to want you to do, I'm going to slide it in here. Just got to lift this little thing here. Slide it in. Okay. Get it in there. Oh, don't be a jerk.
If he gets it in, it's magic.
No, it's just give me a second here. It's just being difficult. Come on, don't be difficult to me.
A lot of sleight of hand going on here right now.
No, it's not. There. Okay, so Neil, you want to go ahead and push that all the way in for me? Make sure it goes all the way in there. All the way. Oh, careful, don't hurt it.
Don't hurt the card, no. I'm so
All the
sorry.
way, all the way. Okay. So, what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want Neil to focus on that card. Focus mentally on that card. Okay? Okay. You know what card it was?
No.
Okay. So, there's the card, right? All right. So, I want you to focus on that card. Really focus. Focus. Move these out of the way here. There's the card. Neil. Go. Okay. It is the card I picked. The universe has collected. The multiverse has all come together. And Neil, can you please show the audience the card I predicted? What does it say, Neil?
Well, show me the card.
He's on Neil.
Neil. Sorry, Neil. What does it say?
It is the 10 of hearts.
Neil, can you please show everybody the card? Everyone.
Magic.
Wow. That's it.
This angel is among us right now.
Nice.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank you.
sure. That's awesome.
Thank you, everyone. I love Chris Angel. Thank you, Chris. Thank you for giving us magic. No, I know it wasn't just you, but you inspire us, and I hope your son is cured from cancer. I really do. If you're watching this, I want you to know that I support you 100%. He's suffering with an actual child with cancer, which
Hopefully he's, got some cannabis oil for him.
that's I wonder if I can help any of these people. I wish I could, but I don't even bring it up to them. All I can do is I do it. I have a TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram, and I send and I share, and he's not the only one. Magic Johnson is one of my heroes. He's one of the only people that people will like me will go and hug, and he's a superstar. He was always a superstar. He was and I follow, and I'm always trying to get him to make sure you're using your plants, because I know he's undetectable, which means he's on a chemo drug. So it's use your plants, Magic, we need you around forever. Even the word name Magic, I love it, right? Call me Magic. There's a great new documentary series about Magic Johnson. If you guys are interested, they call me Magic. I don't know if you guys remember. I don't know if you guys are basketball fans. I was a big basketball fan back in obviously in high school and stuff, and he was Magic and Larry and Wilt and, of course, Kareem, Dr. J. They were just, right? We just got us all out on that court moving around and got our frontal lobe developed. So.
Did you have another one, or is that it?
Another one.
Wow.
Okay.
I thought you said you had to.
I don't mind. I appreciate it. Okay, so, this is fun. Okay, so, are we going to use just Neil or Anil, or who are we going to? I can have multiple people involved with the trick.
That's all right. I can help you.
Okay, cool. All right.
I'm not in on anything.
Okay. You know what? That's what's great about magic is you're not going to be able to be in on everything, right? Okay. So this is my. Whoops.
Uh-oh.
Sorry. Yeah. Diversion. All diversion tactics.
Yes.
No, it's not. Okay. So this is a political trick. So. North Americans, here we are. We got two choices. We got British North America, or we got American North America. So I've got. Can you open your hand up for the court here for the? Okay, so we're gonna take first our British penny here. Okay. Right. There's our British 1 penny. So does everybody like the Britain? No. We would rather have. I'd rather have a place that allows for medical cannabis. So we got the American coin over the British coin. Okay, we're gonna 1, 2, 3. Close your hand. Squeeze. Go.
Look at that.
Show everybody.
We got rid of the queen.
Show everybody.
Woohoo!
Okay.
We got rid of the queen.
Okay, but okay, put it on the counter, put it on the table. But as we know, it's not magic if you don't bring it back. So I have to bring it back. So that's why we've got the pouch. Nothing.
Ah, and there it is.
There it is.
There it is. Wow. That's amazing, Brian. Thank you so much for sharing that with us and for sharing all your great knowledge. And we look forward to more in the future episodes. So
Really?
Thank you so much.
I'm going to be out there helping people fill out petitions, and please come down and support in person. We need people out there. We're not laying in the streets yet. That's what we did in the crib camp. We laid in the streets, but we're pretty close to it. But we need bodies down here to support in person. Letters, of course, signatures and letters. Everybody, please get down there. I'm going to be out there for the next little bit. If anybody wants to come down right now.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
3 letters of support were delivered.
Oh, nice.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, we're getting lots of support. And I want to just recap what we're talking about here. This is the Cannabis Substitution Program that we're talking about. This is a program that started out over 5 years ago where because there was an epidemic of overdose deaths due to a poison drug supply, and my knowledge from the herb school about the value of high-dose cannabis edibles and getting people through withdrawal, when that epidemic of overdose deaths hit, I went to VANDU, the Vancouver Area Network of Drug Users, and got their unanimous support to go to City Council and try to get their support for a program that would make it as easy as possible to get high-dose cannabis edibles to people that were struggling with addiction. City Council didn't want any part of it at that time. We also presented it to the Vancouver Police Board. Spent a couple of months lobbying the City Hall for trying to get them to support what we wanted to do without any success. Just had an earthquake here. And so, after a couple of months of trying to get the city council on board, we ended up having enough donations that we could just go start handing them out. And so we did. I did. I went to Vandu, handed out a bunch of edibles on a Saturday afternoon, and then went about getting some more edibles and went back on another Saturday afternoon. The fourth Saturday in a row that I went to Vandu, there was a long lineup of people waiting, and there was no question that the program was well underway. It was going to be a success, and that we were doing it every Saturday. So we did it every Saturday for a year. Then we switched to 2 other days during the week and not Saturdays to try to deal with problems with the lineup. Thursdays and Sundays became the days that we would meet at Vandu, and for another 2.5 years, we met there every Thursday and every Sunday and handed out care packs of high-dose edibles to people. During that course of time, there was Professor M.J. Malloy from UBC that had his researchers at our giveaways and were questioning people and putting together peer-reviewed papers on the success and the safety of what we were doing. That prompted City Council, after 2.5 years of the program, to pass a motion to unanimously support low barrier access. Meeting with the city resulted in us getting an understanding that we would get a storefront and start doing what we were doing from the storefront and include low cost as well as no cost cannabis. And so we did that. That was 2 years ago, coming up in June. And for 5.5 months, we had the storefront. It was all going very well. We loved it here. The neighborhood loved it here. And we were doing a great job. But the city wouldn't support us until Health Canada did. And we applied to Health Canada, but they didn't respond to us in time. And we ended up being evicted from the storefront. We got an RV and operated out of there. And we did that for over 1.5 years. And here last week, the Vancouver Police Department came in and raided us, stole all the stuff that we had in the RV, stole the RV itself, charged us with trafficking, and did their very best to stop us from doing what we're doing here. But of course, we can't stop doing what we're doing here. People would be put at risk of death and harm. And we're a society that has an obligation as such to the members that we've been helping for all these years. We cannot just stop providing to them, especially since we've had expert opinion from doctors and professors about how much harm just might befall those poor people that we're helping if we were not able to help them. So we must continue on. And now our journey probably takes us through the courts. We've also had Health Canada say they're going to deny our license coming up next Friday, but we did have 30 days to make submissions, and we've asked for an extension on that time, and we have put in a bunch of submissions as well. And so here we are. Now we're operating under a tent, which doesn't seem very sustainable, but we'll do it as long as we have to until we can find something else. So let's go see what's going on outside briefly. Before that, I just want to mention that we're not alone here with the Cannabis Substitution Program in Vancouver. We also have other chapters across Canada. In Halifax, there's the East Coast Substitution Program, and Chris Backer and all of his volunteers and donators. Mary McCarty was our main baker here in Vancouver for quite a while, and she had to leave for family matters to go to London, Ontario. She started the program there, and they're over 6 months running that program. Mary had to leave and go to Winnipeg. She's now started a program there. And boy, do they ever need it in Winnipeg. And all these places other than Vancouver could really use donations. So if you want to help provide low barrier access for yourself and other people in the future, please consider donating baked goods or whatever you can to the Cannabis Substitution Programs in London, Ontario, Halifax, Nova Scotia, Manitoba, Winnipeg, Manitoba, sorry, and Vancouver as well. We could always use more as well here. So that's what's going on with the Cannabis Substitution Program. We are not just a Vancouver entity, but we're right across Canada. And there's other places as well doing similar things. So, yeah, we've got support here, and we've got lots of things going on that means that we should get proper government permission to do this. We're just looking for a piece of paper with a signature. Shouldn't be that hard to get, but apparently it is. So let's go see what we've come to here in Vancouver now with our Cannabis Substitution Program. It's a very nice day in Vancouver. It was supposed to be rainy. It was supposed to rain for 10 days straight after we got raided there. We looked at the weather because we knew we were going to be outside at that point. Now this is only like 5 days or 6 days since the raid, And already yesterday was nice and sunny, and today's nice and sunny, and we'll see what happens in the future here. They do say it's supposed to be stormy tomorrow, so we'll see. So here we are. This is it. It's kind of like the RV, but it's got more air conditioning and leg room than the RV had. And it's easier to get into, I guess. So anyway, hi gentlemen.
How's it going?
It's going all right. How's it going here?
Not bad, it's been busy.
Well, busy day, yeah, for sure. No cops today?
No, not a sign of them.
Not a sign of any cops today. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
I used to say with the RV, every day without a raid is a good day. Well, we had the raid, so now especially every day without a raid is a good day. And yeah, we'll see how many days we can go before something happens here. I really think that we're going to get is some sort of an apology from the VPD. They're going to drop those charges. I don't think they want us in court at all. And we'll just see if that happens. But in the meantime, well, here we are. We've got petitions for people to sign. How many names we got in the petition now? 690 names.
Be more than
That's
that.
good. Don't show off the names.
Yeah, there's one other page that we didn't get, but we have got all of these people that have come by just in the last 5 days and signed a petition for us.
Come by and ask.
We've got
letters.
a whole bunch of letters that people are writing out to government,
They want to.
and they're so eager to do it. As soon as they say, what can we do to help? And we say, well, write us a little letter or sign our petition. They're so quick to grab that pen.
They really are.
So we got lots of these things. This is a whole stack of letters that we just got today. And hopefully that makes a difference. What we do here is we have these muffins. They're 100 milligrams, and there's one free per person all day, every day. We also have cookies that we give out that are 30 milligrams. Everybody gets a free joint. And, you know, that's what we've been doing for all the time that we've been here. John Murray with his muffins and Michael the Cookie Monster with his cookies have made it so that even though we can't add more people than the 266 that we have to the program, we don't turn anybody away. Everybody gets a muffin or a joint every day. So that's over 100 milligrams that we're giving out to people through the program, and also just, you know, when they come here and they're not part of the program. It's a great service to the community. It helps so many people. We have a steady stream of people all day long coming up and telling us how much they appreciate what we're doing here and thanking us, telling us how it helped them sleep or helped them with their pain. This needs to be supported. It's just an absolute atrocity that the people in Ottawa and Health Canada and the federal government are making decisions about what we can and cannot do here, and they never come here. They've never seen what's going on here. They have no sense really of what we're doing here. And without that, they think that they can just tell us to stop. And it doesn't matter to them that there's all these people that are going to be harmed and are going to be, you know, in many cases, they're going to end up dead just because we can't do what we're doing. If we hadn't have been here for the last year and a half, there would have been a whole bunch of people that would have died that are now alive. And we know we're saving people's lives here. We know that we're making their lives better. And we know that it's wrong that the government is dragging their heels and deciding to not give us the support that this neighborhood needs so badly. To abandon the people in this neighborhood that are suffering with addiction and the pain and all the emotional trauma that the people here have gone through to bring them to here is absolutely criminal. It is just so disgusting. It's a death sentence, and it's an attack on the disabled people of Canada. So hopefully, you know, we can change that, and we can get some different decisions down the road. We need help with that. So the letters you saw there, if you could write a letter and send that to Health Canada or the Health Minister, that would be really helpful. Phone calls and emails and all that kind of stuff. We need people to stand up and speak at this time and not just sit on the fence. We need people to get upset about the fact that people are dying due to government drug policy, and upset that those people are not able to be saved by the program that we have here because of bad government drug policy. So please do your part to spread it around, tell the news, call the media. The media, you know, we've had a lot of good media over the last week. We need a lot more. We need to be getting this message out. We need to get Health Canada to have pressure on them. We need the police to have pressure on them so that they do the right thing and stop messing with people's lives that are just trying to deal with the pain and the suffering from the trauma that they've suffered. So hopefully with the help from you people, and if we all get together and do this, we can make this happen. And now is the time. Now is really the time. I've been asking for letters and phone calls, you know, for all the last year and a half that we've been out here in the RV. Now we've been raided. Now we're in real peril. Now is the time. If you haven't written a letter yet on our behalf, please do it now for us. And it feels good to do that. And when you've written one, maybe you'll write another, and maybe you'll make a phone call, and maybe you'll send an email, and get active, because it's a really good way to live your life, is to actively try to solve the problems of the world and not just let them happen without doing anything about them. So it's a great opportunity for people to live a special life and a great life and help out in the world. So thank you for watching. Thank you for the help that you've given so far. Thanks to Neil, my producer, for making this happen, to Cannabis Culture for giving me the platform, and like I say, for all of you for watching and doing whatever you're going to do. So until we see you next week, make sure, have as much fun as you can.